Hi, my name is Corey Saucier, and I am in Georgia Gresham's Management 432 class at Jacksonville University. I'm going to go over a case study, closing case from our textbook on Ikea. Some people pronounce it Ikea. And it is in reference to their stance as a global corporation, global company. A little background on Ikea. It was started out of a family barn by Ingvar Kamprad when he was only 17 years old. They initially started with being a retailer of simple things like matches, and eventually they even grew into ballpoint pens. And they grew from this into what is now a globally recognizable brand, well known for both quality and for the bang for a buck, which it stands for. Now, their target market really tends to be lower middle class individuals who are seeking a way to furnish their early apartments and homes. Usually people who live in I wouldn't say meager, but smaller areas. So we're talking about space-saving furniture for the most part, space-saving household items. They've grown quite a lot over the years and learned a lot of things. They've come across a few interesting lessons where they really changed their model from a globalized to more of a transnational model, in which they apply their learning from different sources and different locations where they manufacture their furniture. One very good example of that being that when they first came to the U.S., they started in Philadelphia, and the furniture that they had brought in, the beds and things like that, were all based in Swedish measurements. The beds would not fit, or rather American sheets would not fit Ikea beds, because where in America we measure our bed sizes by certain tiers, where there's a twin, a full, queen, king. In Sweden, they actually measured them by the number of centimeters that the bed was. So it became a bit of an issue for Americans trying to find a bed that would fit their sheets, or rather sheets that fit their IKEA bed. And so from that, Ikea learned that they had to resolve that problem because that was hampering their sales in the States. They eventually moved towards more of a transnational concept, identifying some manufacturers in the States who could produce the parts, certain parts for beds and things like that, within the sizes that were known to Americans, but using the same kind of methods, the same methodology and business philosophy that Ikea demanded from its suppliers, and most of that being cost leadership. They were very, very focused from the very early days on maintaining cost leadership through a very firm adherence to maintaining clean lines and efficient design. One thing I read about Ikea, they often will go to a committee when deciding on whether or not to enter into a certain target market for a certain style of furniture by identifying a cost margin that is 30 to 50% lower than what the furniture they're looking to compete with, and then they will try to identify, well, is there any way to produce something similar to what a competitor is making, but at that price range, and still make a profit. Whether it be a meager profit or a large profit, that's usually their goal. Their first goal is to keep it less expensive. I hesitate to use the word cheap because the fact is they're also very focused on quality. And that's one of the things that also made them stand out is their dual focus is on maintaining a quality piece of furniture that will last versus or while also making sure that quality piece of furniture is within a price range that is feasible for a person who might live in a small apartment. I'm actually sitting on a piece of furniture right now that is very similar in style and whatnot to what Ikea produces. It's good quality, it's well made, and it's something that will last a long time, and it's adaptable. It's something that you can put a variety of different covers or pillows or what have you to make it match any room. And that was another big part of their goal. As they grew, they did run into some issues with the American market, just because people will in America were very much of a mindset, at least in the early days of their expansion into that market, which was I think in the 80s, it might have been 85. People were still very much glued to their belongings. There was a big focus on, well, you buy something that's quality that'll last forever. That was the American way, and there's been a slow shift towards a more consumeristic model or consumeristic lifestyle. And so when that happened, it really fed into it. There was commercials, as I recall, where it was a rainstorm and there was a lamp that was sitting abandoned, and then this guy pops up on the screen, a very smartly dressed Swedish guy, and he makes some joke about most of you seem to feel sad for this lamp, but you're crazy, go and get a new one, from Ikea. And I guess that the concept being that we're making something that Ikea was making something that was inexpensive, replaceable, disposable. You don't have to worry about having this thing for life because you don't want it for life. You want to use it for as long as you enjoy it and then move on. And so to some extent, that there is a certain aspect of consumerism that they really fed. And that, as it's picked up, has really also brought brands like Ikea to the forefront in their industry as an industry leader. Now, looking at the case discussion questions, how is Ikea profiting from global expansion? Well, I think it's pretty obvious that by expanding globally, they've increased their consumer base. They've really, initially it was a little bit of a drag on their company because they had focused more on a globalization versus a transnational model. There was just a little bit of an ethnocentricity to the way that they had gone about things, and they didn't recognize that there would be some conflicts with the way different cultures function. As time went on, they recognized these things. They rectified it in the American market. They made some adaptations to the Chinese market based on the lifestyle of the people who live there, and I think that's really helped them to grow. The essence of its strategy for creating value by expanding internationally, I think it really just boils down to maintaining that cost leadership while ensuring that their products are convenient and accessible for whoever might come to want them, and maintaining that sleek, clean-lined style that they're well known for. Second question was, how would you characterize their original strategic posture in foreign markets? Again, I would say originally they were looking at more of a globalized style. They didn't recognize that there would be so many cultural differences that they'd have to contend with, even on things so simple like whether or not the sheets that you could buy in a store would fit that bed. Or another well-known tale is how American consumers would buy vases, flower vases, from Ikea to drink out of instead of the glasses that were intended for drinking out of that Ikea sold. And it was just based on an American tendency towards using more ice in their glasses, as opposed to people in other markets might not. The strengths of that posture really stemmed from standardization. They had a certain standardized way that everything was done, so it was very easy and lean, and they just keep pumping out what they had. The major weakness was that it just unfortunately didn't apply to the market. When you sell a kitchen set, but all the drawers are too shallow to fit the kind of dishes that Americans are conditioned to using, it eventually will create a little bit of an issue where your American consumer, for instance, feels like they're not being catered to, so they're less likely to buy. The third question was how has the strategic posture of Ikea changed as a result of this experience in the United States? I think I really did cover that. And why did it change strategy? How would you characterize the strategy today? It honestly, the United States changed the posture because it made them realize that you can't just stick to a very ethnocentric model. You've got to recognize the wants, needs, desires, likes, dislikes of a culture as concerns the product that you're selling to that culture. And it really, it strengthened their brand by making them realize that the best way to really enhance their position is by, finding local suppliers, adapting certain aspects of their designs to local culture, but then also taking the very clean lines, things that they're known for, the things that stand out, and applying those things as well to that, to those designs. So I think ultimately the strategy of IKEA today is that it's adaptation, it's innovative focus on adaptation. Identifying ways to maintain their status as a cost leader while ensuring that convenience and price are at the forefront, and done in a way that always benefits the target market. It's a very interesting company, and I definitely want to do more research on them. I've done a little on my own in the past, so I did know a little more than what was shared, but I think that I'll continue to look into them, and I'll probably end up buying some things from them in the very near future.